Hi, welcome to episode 479 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. We also have both a Facebook and Ravelry group. The Facebook group is called Team CKT Spin It to Win It. And then we've got a Corner of Knit and Tea Ravelry group. Both are geared towards Tour de Fleece, which will be starting on June 29th, which is coming up. So if you are a spinner and interested in joining a team and participating, there's more information in both of those places. And I have put some links down below. So hi, how are you? I hope that you are having a good week. It is Monday, June 17th. We are rolling on through time. I can hardly believe we are halfway through June already and almost halfway through the year, and summer comes up this week. The solstice comes up this week. There's just all kinds of things going on. So I hope that you're doing well. I had a really nice weekend and did a lot of crafting. I have lots of things to show you and some finished things. And yeah, so one of the nicest things that I did over the weekend is I am in a couple book clubs, and we actually had a book club meeting in person, and it was lovely. We sat out on someone's back deck in it is covered, and she also had fans going, and it was a little warm, but it was really nice, and we had snacks and just chatted about books and life, and it was really great. Otherwise, I pretty much did a bunch of crafting, and I spent some time with my husband. He's been out of town quite a bit lately, and we are both getting ready to go out of town this coming weekend. So he's going to be doing some biking, and I am actually going to go over to St. Louis, which is about 3 or 4 hours away. I am coming to you from Kansas City, and if I just hike right across Missouri on I-70, I will get to St. Louis, and the St. Louis Fountain Pen Show is this coming weekend. And so I decided sort of last minute that I was going to go. It's a local show. I have a friend who's going and has a room and said I could crash with her. And so I'm gonna check it out. So if you happen to be a fountain pen person and going to the St. Louis Pen Show, I will be there on Saturday and Sunday. I'm leaving after work on Friday, so I will not be there Friday during the day. But I'm very excited. I also signed up to take a journaling class, which I think should be fun. It's called Creative Journaling, and they're going to give us some supplies and show us how to do some creative journaling, which I think will be kind of fun. So that is my weekend coming up. I will be back in time to podcast on Monday. I'm trying not to take any time off work right now because I'm saving my vacation for trips for next summer. So there will be probably very little crafting, but I will come and talk to you next Monday. So let's talk about this week. Today I am drinking iced tea. I'm drinking a mango fruit punch from David's Teas, and this is just a fruity herbal. It's got pineapple, mango, tangerine, marigold blossoms, strawberry, orange peels and slices. So it's just, I guess they said tangerine, but down here it says orange peel. I don't know. It is a fruity blend, and I am drinking it in my Llama Love cup with just a bit of sugar, and it is lovely. It is perfect for today. It doesn't have any caffeine, but it is sweet and fruity and just kind of light and perfect. We are fairly warm here. It's been in the 80s and 90s the last week or so, and so it is hot and a little bit humid, and yeah. So let's talk about what I've been working on. I have 2 finishes, but I'm going to get to them a little bit later in the podcast. So first I'll talk about kind of my works in progress. I am working on the Weekday Tea by Amy Scher. I decided that I wanted a summer tea, and I am knitting it in some great yarn that I got from Threadhead, who is a local to me dyer. I don't have the label in here, but it is called Mini Boomer, which is a huge skein. It's almost 1,200 yards of a 65% superwash merino and 35% bamboo, which I think will be a delightful summer blend. And it's in a fingering weight, a pretty light fingering weight, and it is in this kind of, I call this water lilies. It's a very teal colorway that has like blue and purple and then a little bit of yellow that makes a little bit of green, and so it's really kind of a mottled colorway, and I'm really enjoying knitting with it. So the weekday tee is a pattern by Amy Sher. I think I already said that. It is a top-down raglan with just a little bit of raglan detailing, a little bit of a lace panel in the raglan shaping. And I am fairly far into it. I am almost done with the body. I have another inch or so, I think, before I am ready to put on the ribbing on the bottom. And then I will have some short sleeves and a collar. So I'm hoping maybe I can finish it this week. I'm not 100% sure with my travel, but we shall see. Maybe I'll have a finished sweater to show you. Let me get myself in order here. Yeah. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's looking very summer top oriented here. So like I said, it's a top down with raglan shaping. Sorry, the end is hanging out here. It is a really nice kind of mottled blue color. I like it because it's a little variegated. There's some interest, but it's not too splotchy, although I did get a little bit of pooling down here, as you can see, but that's okay. So it's got this really nice detail at the raglan shaping, all four raglans. It's just a little bit of lace, and almost looks like a cable. It's not actually a cable because it's just made with yarn overs and knit two togethers and SSKs. But that's at all four edges. And then, like I said, I am fairly far into the body. I just need a couple more inches, and then I will do a couple inches of ribbing. And then, like I said, it gets short sleeves and then a ribbed collar. So I'm really pleased with this. I actually tried it on this week just because I was curious how things were going, and I wanted to make sure that it would fit. And it fits beautifully. Actually, it was really funny because I was wearing another blue sweater that I knit earlier this week, and my husband was like, "Isn't this the same color as the other one?" And I was like, "No, and it's a different sweater." The other one's kind of a denim indigo blue, and then this is more of a kind of turquoise. But anyway, so it was pretty funny. I was like, yeah, I guess sort of, maybe a little bit, but totally different. The other one's cotton, it's DK weight, it's got a textured stitch, like it's pretty different. But yeah, so that's where I'm at, and I'm hoping to finish the body this week in the next couple days, and then I'll just have the little bits of finishing. So, and I will definitely get that all out of one skein, which I love because it just means fewer ends to weave in. So that is the project that I'm still working on and probably will be for one more week. I also have been embroidering. I am working on a kit by Hoffelt and Hooper, and I did not do a ton of work on this week because I actually spent more time on the next two things that I will show you. But this is a floral kit. It's modern embroidery from Hoffelt and Hooper, and the kit came with everything I needed, including the booklet. 2 episodes ago, I opened the kit, so if you want to see a kit opening and see what's included, you'll be able to go back and see that. The design that I'm making is I actually have a card with the design that I'm making. This is the design that I'm making. So it is this one. I guess I don't know how it goes. So, and that is what I have going on. So this is where I am at. So last time I had both of these flowers finished, and then I went back and I finished the rose. So that is kind of a woven rose. And then I have started going in and doing the French knots in this kind of mint color. And I did the back stitching on this one, but I have not done the French knots yet. And then I have more French knots, and I have some beautiful leaves to do. And then these, which have like a lazy daisy stitch and then some satin stitching. So that is what I am still working on. Like I said, I did not do that much. I finished the rose and I got started on some of this, and I will continue on this, but I ended up working on a couple other things this week. But I'm very much enjoying this one, and it should be done soon. I don't have a ton more work to do on it, so they'll take a few nights to put in some stitching, and I don't know if I'll take this with me on my trip. I haven't decided what I'm going to take with me. I will mostly be busy on my trip because a fountain pen show is, for those of you who have not been or don't know too much about it, it's basically a knitting show. There are classes, there is a vendor market with all kinds of vendors there, and the point is to try things, and you get to try new pens and inks and stationery bits and bobs, and you can shop and bring things home. And then the other thing that tends to happen at pen shows is usually they're in a hotel. And then after the pen show usually runs like 10 to 5, basically like a standard vendor market. And then everybody goes out to dinner, and everybody comes back and goes to the bar, and then we all sit around and share our pens with each other. So you pass your pens around the table, everybody gets to write with different pens and nibs and inks, and it's just kind of a lot of hanging out and swapping stories. But of course, since it's centered around fountain pens, everybody's like writing and sharing things and trying things out, and so it's not so much of a knitting trip. Of course, I will be bringing my knitting or crafting with me, but I just don't know how much time I'll have, because it's just a little bit of a different environment because I'm around other pen enthusiasts. So we'll see. I will definitely knit some, but I'm also driving myself rather than carpooling with someone. So of course, that's time that I can't be knitting. So yeah. So the two finished objects I have are, I have a finished spin and I finished my quilt. So those are the two things I will show you now. In spinning news, I finished a braid that I was spinning from Kim Dye's Yarns. Sorry. I was like, huh? Kim Dye's Yarns. This was a braid that I purchased in her shop. It is a braid of, I believe, Rambouillet. Let me just pull my book. It is a braid of, no, sorry, it's an 8515 Polworth Tessa Silk, and it was a one-of-a-kind colorway, and I am thinking about calling it One Fine Day. I was thinking about raindrops and rainbows, but that seemed like a mouthful, and it's very, very pretty. It's flowery. It's just got all these nice pastels, but it's a little bit moody because it was dyed on kind of dark merino, and the light is not doing great things. We've got cloud cover right now, so it's a weird light, but it's got all of these like pinks and greens and teal and just really fun colors, and it's super squishy and soft. And so I'm thinking about calling this One Fine Day. This does need a bath and final stats, and then it will go up into the Etsy shop. That will probably happen later this week. It has not been washed yet. This is like right off the wheel where I was plying it last night, and so that is finished. And I have not started on another braid yet. I picked out a braid which actually is Rambouillet. It's called Fading Light, and this is from Hello Yarn, and this will be kind of what I'll work on some this week, although of course because I'll be leaving over the weekend, I don't know how much I'll be working on this, so this will probably take me a couple weeks. This might be the last spin, taking me right up to, well, yeah, today's the 17th. This will probably be the last spin, taking me right up to clearing off my wheel for Tour de Fleece. I have not actually picked out yet what I want to spin for Tour de Fleece, nor have I picked out all the prizes. I have some of them picked out. And so I will bring some of that next week as, because let me see, today is the 17th, so 17 and 7 is 24, which means next time will be the last time before, next Monday will be the last podcast before we start Tour de Fleece. So I will bring some of the things I'd like to spin for Tour de Fleece. In general, I don't have a huge plan this year. Some years I spin a couple pounds of fiber, and I do not think that is going to be the case this year, both because I have other crafts that I'm working on, and also because I just don't know that my hands are gonna, my arm is really gonna cooperate. I don't want to do the same thing in one position for quite that long, because I'm still kind of rehabbing from tendonitis this spring. So my goal is definitely to spin at least 15 minutes a day, which is not a problem. I always watch the tour, so my plan is to watch the tour. You know, if I could spin 3 or 4 braids during the course of the tour, that would be great. If I can't, then that's fine too. And so I don't think I'm going to spin for a larger project. I think I'll probably just pick out one-off braids, or maybe onesies and twosies, and see. So next week I will come with showing off some of the prizes and showing off what I want to spin. If you would like to participate, you can check out, like I said, there is a group on Ravelry. There's a thread in the group on Ravelry. There's also the Facebook group. Basically, it's spin as much as you like, talk about it, have fun, maybe win some prizes. That's kind of in a nutshell. If you want to join the team, let me know. If you have other questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer them for you. I have talked about this quite a bit on several of my podcasts, but I am very excited. It's one of my favorite times during summer, and I'm excited to bring the wheel out and watch some biking. So the last thing that I have to show you is I finished the quilt that I showed you last week or the week before. I showed you that I had been free motion quilting. And I finished it this weekend. I was very excited. I have chronicled for you that sometimes I get along with my sewing machine and sometimes I don't. Kind of depends on the week. And so this weekend I had a practical task that I needed to do, which is we bought some new pillowcases for our bed, and our pillows are some kind of weird size between standard and king. And so if I buy the standard pillowcases, the pillows don't fit in them. But if I buy the king pillowcases, there is lots of extra pillowcase. So I had bought king pillowcases and we lived with it for a week or two, but my husband was like, could you just make this better? And he could actually make it better too, but he said, could you do this? And so it was really simple. I turned the pillowcases inside out and then I marked them with a ballpoint pen and ruler where I wanted to take things in, and I chopped about 4 inches. Well, okay, I didn't cut right away. I marked about 4 inches in from the end, and then I marked about 2 inches down from the top, and I just did some straight seams. Then I was gonna cut them, and he said, let's use them like this for a week or two and see how they work, and then if we decide we want to take more or whatever. So I haven't cut them yet, but my next step would be to cut them, and then I do not have a serger, but my thought was that I would just zigzag over the edges so that they don't fray. But I did that, and it all seemed to go relatively smoothly. And so I decided that I would go ahead, and I'm just picking at threads. I decided that I would go ahead and put together the binding and trim down my quilt and get the binding on it. So I decided this spring that I wanted to make a couple quilts for charity, and I decided that right before my tendonitis started acting up. And so they have been a little bit longer than I had wanted to sew them in April and donate them in May, and here we are halfway through June and I just have the first one done. Basically, I took a jelly roll of kid-friendly fabric. I think it was called From Life, and it's all kinds of fun farm animals and paw prints and spots and squiggles and just fun kind of gender neutral fabric in blues and greens and yellows and browns. And then I put together a quilt with it, and then I realized that I could basically put together another quilt of the same size, because a jelly roll, based on the sizing I was doing, I only used half the jelly roll on the first quilt. So I went ahead and bought enough backing fabric and decided to use the backing also for the binding, and I'll just stop talking and I'll start showing. So I showed you the quilt last week. Basically what this is I just sewed the jelly roll strips together. On this one, I actually sewed the strips together and then cut them in different places so that I could have approximately 32-inch width. That was something that I was making for the specific charity I was donating to. I'm hoping that it will be okay, even though it's not quite, or even though I may not be able to donate to that specific charity because their drive was in May, and so I need to see if they're still accepting things. If not, I have a few other ideas of places that I can donate. But basically, the dimensions on this quilt are approximately 32 by 40-ish. Because I have 20 strips and then they are approximately 32 inches long. So this was kind of a jelly roll quilt where you attach the strips all together at a 45-degree angle, and then you cut them to a certain length, and so it creates kind of a pattern here. And this was my first time doing it, and I did it a little bit wrong, so my quilt is a little bit odd looking. In one section, the fabric goes one direction and then it kind of does a zigzag thing. It's a little weird. I sewed them together a little bit wrong. But overall what I did is I sewed my strips together, and then once my strips were together, I sandwiched it together with the backing fabric, and then I quilted loops and swirls in this cool green thread. I think it's called lime green. I just wanted a little bit of color and fun, and you can see that like it kind of fits in with the bees and the swirls, and there are all kinds of fabric. Like this one has little swirls. So I just wanted to do something that was kind of fun and kid oriented. And then on the backing, I bought this backing from Moda. What happened was I bought the jelly roll and then I was trying to decide on the backing. And often what I will do on a backing is I will try and buy a coordinating fabric from the collection, because a jelly roll, let me go through like the real basics. A jelly roll is a roll of 2.5-inch strips by width of fabric, and you get 1 to 2 strips in each print in the collection. Usually a fabric collection is anywhere between 20 and 24 or even more. Different patterns so you get a little taste of everything in your jelly roll. And so normally what I would do to put a backing on something is I would go ahead and find one of these patterns that I liked and go ahead and get enough for the backing. But this, the fabric line, I bought it from Missouri Star, where I work, and we ordered the pre-cuts for it, but we did not order the yardage for it. So basically, I didn't have anything from this collection that matched. And so what I did is I went and I found this cool stripe from Moda, and this is, I think, called the algae stripe, and so it's got blues and greens, and I thought it would kind of coordinate. It's not a matchy-matchy, but I thought it would kind of coordinate, and it would also be, again, a kind of neutral backing to go with the front. And then one of the reasons that I picked this striping pattern is because I really liked the idea of doing stripy binding, and so when I fold it over into binding strips, you just get a very little bit of this kind of striped binding around the outside. So that is what I have. So what I did is I sewed all my binding strips together yesterday, and then I attached it to the quilt, and then I actually hand attach the back. So you can bind in a variety of ways. You can bind all on the machine, but the way that I like the best is to machine attach the binding to the front of the quilt, and then you fold it over the back. And then you tack it down and sew it down, and you can see that is what I did. And when you do it correctly, you can see just every so often some little stitches or bites of fabric, but otherwise it's pretty invisible. And so that is my quilt. So I will stand back and show this to you. But like I said, it's about 32 by 40, and so this is the quilt. So I am really, really pleased with it. Actually, it might be a little longer than 40. And I'm really pleased with it. And I am setting it aside until I finish the second one. Now, the second one I did kind of differently. I decided, heck, I don't need to do the 32 inches across. For this one, I'm just going to make it square. So I just sewed all my strips together. And then I cut them down. And so it is currently at about 40, 41, 42 by the same. And I need to sandwich it together, and then I need to quilt it. And for that one, I think, because I had some difficulty with my machine on doing all of these fun swirls, which I absolutely love, I think what I'm going to do on my other version of this quilt is something that's called straight line quilting, where I'm just going to quilt straight lines. And what I haven't decided yet is whether I'm literally going to like stitch in the ditch and follow the lines of the jelly roll strips, or if I'm going to kind of put lattice on here. And I think I might do that. I think I might mark on the diagonal one direction and on the diagonal the other direction, and then just do kind of a lattice quilting job. So I'll just sew the straight seams and both directions, and then that will be quilted. And then I'm going to finish. I'm finishing with the same backing and the same binding. I bought enough so that I could do both. And so then both those quilts, slightly different dimensions, will be ready to go off to be donated. I have a variety of places I think I can donate them. Like I said, I'll probably check with the original and see if I can donate it there. If not, there are a couple other places, plus there is Always Project Linus, which I used to knit blankets for, and so I am positive that I can donate them at a hospital or send them off somewhere. There were a couple places that said basically, we don't care what size it is. If it's finished, we'll take it. And so all it needs to be is finished. So I do need to run these through the washing machine before I send them out, but they are this one is more or less complete. Like I said, I do want to wash it, but otherwise it's pretty much done, and I'm really happy. This is my third finished quilting project, like real quilt. And it is the second project that I have done myself from start to finish, as opposed to sending it out to be quilted. And there are definitely parts that I enjoy about the process and parts that I enjoy less about the process. Primarily, I really enjoy kind of the free motion quilting, and I really enjoyed sewing the binding on and getting that finished, which I know a lot of people think is kind of the hard part at the end, but that actually is a favorite part for me, and I really enjoyed just sitting and watching TV last night and running through that. And I got it all done in one night because it's not that big a quilt, although I was like, I don't understand why people use thimbles for this, and then like an hour and a half later my thumb hurt, and I was like, oh, that's why they use thimbles for this. Because I was like, I'm not having a problem pushing the needle through, and then like I said, my thumb ached, and I was like, oh, that would be why. But I am enjoying the process. So I expect that I have another quilt almost exactly like this that I need to finish. And then I have another quilt that I had started and put aside. And that one is a quilt with a lot of half square triangles. And I had just started to make the half square triangles and cut them apart. And what I really need to do is finish cutting them apart and trim them up. But I think I'm going to try and finish the other donation quilt first, and then I will go back to that one. That one is in red and white. It's not specifically a holiday quilt. I had gone in for a mystery layer cake of fabric, and what I got was something that was red and white and not really my style, but I decided I was going to go ahead and make a quilt with it, and I was going to use it as practice basically, and work on learning half square triangles. And so it will be approximately a 36 by 36 or 40 by 40 quilt. I envisioned it maybe as another wall quilt to put on my wall up here, like the Halloween quilt that I did. And I really, really like the, I have to say I'm really enjoying these like small to mid-size quilts where I can do all the finishing work on my own and kind of see the project through start to finish. I loved the quilt that I made back there, which is like a full throw and closer to, I don't think it's a twin size, it's like a 58 by 65 or 70. I enjoyed putting that together, and I like having a quilt to snuggle up in, but I have to say that I really like these smaller projects that I can kind of do start to finish on my own and not have to send out. And also because the bigger the quilt gets, the more unwieldy it is and hard to put it through the machine. Like finishing piecing that top, it was really heavy and it was a lot of work. And some of these smaller things are just a lot easier for me and more digestible. So I suspect I'll be doing lots of wall quilts and smaller fun things because that's kind of where I'm deriving my joy at the moment. Anyway, that was a lot of talk about a quilt because I started almost 10 minutes ago. So thank you for joining me today. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you're enjoying some crafty stuff. I will be back again next Monday, although I don't know how much I'll have to share, but we'll just have to see. I wish you a wonderful week ahead, and I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy quilting, happy embroidering, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.